everyone, back for another review. This time we're going to do episode 23 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. I told you it'd be a lot quicker. So basically what we're doing is we're dealing with the aftermath of what happened in the previous episode with the 15th Angel attacking, Asuka being rendered useless, and she had to be saved by Unit Zero. So this episode takes off from there. What we're finding out is that Asuka has run away, and she has run to Hikari's house, where she plays Sega Saturn and plays it on the Sega TV. There goes marketing for you, or product placement. Masato in this episode is starting to become a zealot. In the last episode, she had a talk with Hugo, where Hugo explained to her that 8 other angels are being made. Now, this episode is a little bit more different than usual, because usually the first half is the setup, and right when it goes into the second half, we have the angel. No, this one, the first half is the angel, second half is more or less the setup for the end of the series. So basically what's going on is that while everyone is talking about, including Cele's having a talk with Gendo about the Lance of Longinus, why did you use it? You know, there's no way for us to get it back. We need it for whatever their special project is. Gendo says, well, their main position is to stop all the angels, and that was the only way to do it. So, and right when that conversation starts, that's when the angel attacks. So we get the 15th angel in the first half of the episode and not the second. By the way, the first half of this episode is called Tears. So basically what happens in the Tears is we have the 15th angel showing up, and what the commander decides to do is to send the only suitable unit, Unit 0, because Unit 1 is still in cryo, out to attack it. But in a curious decision, they decide to send out Unit 2 with Asuka in it as a backup, just in case. Of course, this isn't going to help Asuka's ego any, because one, she doesn't think she's a backup, plus she's already taken so many blows in the last 5 episodes to her ego. We've already established from the last episode she's having issues syncing. So where in the last episode we had the 15th angel tried to contaminate to get into Asuka's mind, the 16th angel is going to try to physically merge with Rei. So it attacks Rei. In the middle of the attack, they tell Asuka to go help her out, and Asuka can't do it. She can't get it. She can't get the unit to move at all. So they recall it. Gendo decides, forget it. We have to get Unit 1 out there. So he pulls the ban off for Unit 1 and sends them out there. Now, this is kind of interesting because, well, there's a lot of fan service in this, with the 16th angel penetrating Unit 0 and Rei, where you see the mental scars of the physical scars of the unit once again, you know, taking its physical hold on Rei. So they send Unit 1 out there. Obviously Unit 1 tries to attack it, and once he blocks it and stabs it, he sees an image come out of the end of the angel, because it's just literally this long power string. It's just a long beam of light, literally. And Rei decides to do the only thing she can do just to protect Shinji, and is to take the angel into herself and call it a day, or life, I should say. There are 2 interesting things while she does that. One, the last image she sees, and then 2, also what happens physically to Unit 0. And that's pretty much the end of the first half of this episode. There is a little interesting part once again, where in the last two episodes, in episode 21, Shinji, you got to see into his psyche makeup. In the last episode, we got to look into Asuka's psyche makeup. In this one, we get to look into Rei's makeup while she's interacting with the angel. And it's a lot of what you would expect, vagueness, as well as a sense of, you know, she's either having a conversation with herself. But that's pretty much it for this episode once the angel goes kaput. So we're going to go on to the second half, which is more heavily towards the talk end, since we already got the angel out of the way. So second half of this episode is called Rei 3. This episode is a little bit more simpler because it's basically Seele saying, okay, we've got one more angel to go, you know, and we're basically done, but can we trust Akari not to turn on us? And basically what happens during it is they're asking for someone, they're asking actually to speak to Unit, to the pilot of Unit 0, which would be Rei. In a fitting remark, Rei's body comes back, or they call up Misato and say, oh, come on over, we have Rei. Never explaining what happened at the end of the first part. But there's an interesting scene where Shinji thanks Rei for saving her, and she goes, did I? And then she goes, oh, I guess I must be the third one. If you know what happened in previous episodes, you would get that remark. So, but then since Fuyusuki or Akari doesn't want to send Rei to go speak to Seele, he sends instead Ritsuko. While Ritsuko's there, Ritsuko finds out that they didn't ask for her. They asked it for Rei, and Akari sent you instead. So they basically humiliate her by having her stand in front of them naked and explain to them how Gendo is, you know, making a fool of her and all that other stuff, and explaining what's going on their half. We also find out that Kaji left one little remark for Misato, and he tells her how to use this microchip and what it does. Meanwhile, Ritsuko, after being pissed off about what she found out about Gendo, decides to tell Shinji to come to Nerves so she can explain to him all the secrets that had been held back to him. So we get it at the end of this episode, an interesting three-man group where we have Ritsuko, Misato, and Shinji. And basically Ritsuko is explaining to both of the other characters what's going on and what Rei is. While they never say it explicitly, while Ritsuko is giving off this dialogue, this whole explanation, they're in this room which should be called the Chamber of Goth. Chamber of Goth, for those of you who are not religious, is a chamber that houses all the souls for souls that don't have bodies. Ner's version of it is the exact opposite. It holds bodies without souls. And Ritsuko explains to them this is the purpose of the dummy plug system, and you know, this is who it is. While she's explaining that and you're seeing these floating empty vessels in this room, you see flashbacks to pictures of Yui Akari, which is Shinji's mom, and along the way they also see a sea of, or a place where they bury Ava units that didn't make the cut, and basically a graveyard for dead Avas. And Ritsuko explains to Shinji, this is where your mom died and you were there when it happened. at the end of this long conversation, Risco eventually pulls the plug, literally, on all the spare Rays, and they all die. And that's kind of where this episode ends. Risco is asking for Misato the killer, and Misato just can't. In a really short amount of time, this episode literally told us a lot of backstory about Ray without actually telling us, in the middle of exposition that Risco's giving us, while not only informing the audience, but also as well as informing Shinji and Misato, which is kind of interesting. And there's a lot of double meanings in a lot of these episodes. This happens to be one of them. Like I said, there's a comment earlier in this half of the episode where it says, where Ray goes, "Oh, I must be the third one." For those of you who don't remember, in the episode where we find out about Nerve, I believe episode 19, or I think it was 20, the birth of Nerve, we get an explanation, or one of those episodes, we get an explanation on what happened to little Ray, where Risco's mom choked her to death. And then obviously in the first half of this episode, the second Ray got blown up. So when she makes that comment, she is the third Ray. I got 3 more episodes to go. Episode 24 is the last one that will be taking place in reality. Let's just put it like that. If you guys know how the series ends, you know what I mean. For those of you who don't, can't wait to see it. But actually, the next episode is probably my favorite episode. There'll be a lot of subtext in that episode, I'll tell you that. But for now, that's everything. Once again, I'll be putting the link for Jeff's new playthrough for his new game, Roadblocks type game, except with trains, I believe. It'll be in the description below. But for now, later.